Most people believe gardening means endless planting, constant weeding, and starting over every single season. But what they don't realize is that nature already designed crops that feed you year after year, without you lifting a finger. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why ignoring these plants could cost you more than just wasted effort. It could mean losing food security, spending thousands on groceries you didn't need to buy, and missing out on the freedom of a garden that practically grows itself. We're living in a time where the ground beneath our feet feels less stable than ever. The systems that once worked, the grocery stores always stocked, the supply chains humming along, the prices predictable, are now cracking. And if you're not prepared, you'll be forced to pay more, settle for less, or even go without. Think about it. Just a few years ago, nobody worried about whether bread would be on the shelf or if milk would be affordable. Food was something we took for granted. But now, inflation has driven prices up to levels we never imagined. Eggs, meat, vegetables, staples that used to be cheap are suddenly luxuries for some families. And it's not just about money, it's about access. We've seen shortages ripple through the system. One storm, one drought, one political decision, and suddenly entire sections of the grocery store are empty. Remember when flour and rice disappeared during the pandemic? Or when baby formula became impossible to find? Those weren't freak accidents. They were warning signs. Warning signs that the system we rely on is fragile. And here's the hidden truth most people don't want to face. The modern food system isn't built for resilience. It's built for speed, profit, and efficiency. That means it works beautifully when everything is smooth, but the moment there's a disruption, it collapses. Now imagine what happens when disruptions aren't temporary. Imagine inflation that doesn't go away. Imagine supply chains that don't bounce back. Imagine climate events that keep hammering crops year after year. Suddenly, the grocery store isn't a guarantee anymore, it's a gamble. That's why this matters now, because if you're not prepared, you'll be forced to live at the mercy of a system that's already showing cracks. You'll be forced to pay whatever price they demand, accept whatever quality they offer, and hope that next week the shelves don't go bare. But here's the good news. You don't have to live like that. You don't have to be trapped in that cycle of fear and dependence. There's a way out, and it starts with understanding the power of perennial crops. See, most people think gardening is hard work. They picture endless planting, watering, and weeding. They think it's a hobby for retirees or a luxury for people with time to spare. But that's a myth. The truth is, there are crops you plant once, and they keep feeding you year after year. No replanting, no constant babysitting, just food that shows up season after season. And in times like these, that's not just convenient, it's survival. Because when inflation eats away at your paycheck, those crops are free. When supply chains break down, those crops are right outside your door. When the system fails, those crops don't. Let me put it this way. Every perennial you plant is like insurance. Insurance against rising prices. Insurance against empty shelves. Insurance against uncertainty. And unlike the insurance you buy from a company, this insurance actually pays you back in food, flavor, and freedom.
Now, I know some people will say, but I don't have a farm. I don't have acres of land. And that's the beauty of it. You don't need acres. You don't even need a traditional garden. Many of these crops thrive in small spaces, raised beds, or even containers. They're tough, resilient, and forgiving. The urgency here isn't just about economics, it's about dignity. Because when you can feed yourself, you're not at the mercy of anyone else. You're not waiting for shipments, not praying prices go down, not hoping politicians fix the system. You're free. And freedom is priceless. We're living in a time where food insecurity isn't just a problem for other people. It's creeping into middle-class households, into suburban neighborhoods, into places that never thought they'd struggle. Inflation doesn't care about your zip code. Supply chain failures don't care about your income. Everyone is vulnerable. That's why I'm sounding the alarm, because if you wait until the shelves are empty, it's too late. If you wait until prices double again, you'll wish you had started sooner. If you wait until the system collapses, you'll regret not planting the crops that could have carried you through. I'm not saying this to scare
You, though honestly a little fear is healthy right now. I'm saying this to wake you up, to remind you that resilience isn't built overnight. It's built step by step, plant by plant, choice by choice. And here's the logic. Perennial crops are the smartest investment you can make right now. They cost almost nothing to start. They require almost no maintenance, and they give back for years, even decades. Compare that to the grocery store, where every trip drains your wallet and leaves you vulnerable to whatever crisis comes next. So ask yourself, do you want to keep gambling on a fragile system, or do you want to build your own system? One that never fails, one that grows stronger every year. Because here's the truth. The people who prepare now will be the ones who thrive later. The ones who plant perennials today will be the ones eating fresh food tomorrow, no matter what happens in the world. The ones who take action now will be the ones who sleep at night, knowing their family is secure. We're living in a time where the old rules don't apply. The grocery store isn't guaranteed, prices aren't stable, systems aren't reliable, and if you're not prepared, you'll be forced to pay the price, literally and figuratively. But if you are prepared, if you plant these crops, you'll have food security, financial relief, and peace of mind. You'll have resilience in a world that's anything but stable. That's why this matters now. That's why I'm sharing these 14 crops with you. Because they're not just plants, they're lifelines, they're freedom. They're the difference between fear and confidence, between scarcity and abundance, between dependence and independence. And by the end of this video, you'll see exactly how simple it is to start. You'll see how these crops can transform your life, and you'll understand why waiting is the most expensive mistake you could make. Number 1. Asparagus. At first glance, this seems like a fancy restaurant vegetable, but what makes it powerful is its ability to produce for 20+ years once established. In a real-world scenario, this allows you to harvest fresh food every spring without replanting. If you're considering this, look for crowns instead of seeds. They establish faster. Number 2, rhubarb. At first glance, it looks like a decorative plant. But what makes it powerful is its resilience in poor soil and harsh climates. In collapse scenarios, it gives you reliable calories and flavor. If you're considering this, plant it in partial shade for longevity. Number 3, Jerusalem artichokes. At first glance, they seem like odd potatoes, but what makes them powerful is their ability to multiply underground endlessly. In a reset scenario, they provide a renewable starch source. If you're considering this, dedicate a corner bed. They spread aggressively. Number 4, chives. At first glance, they're just garnish, but what makes them powerful is their perennial regrowth and pest-repelling properties. In collapse scenarios, they flavor food and protect other crops. If you're considering this, trim often to encourage fresh shoots. Number 5, mint. At first glance, it's just tea flavoring. But what makes it powerful is its medicinal and culinary versatility. In collapse scenarios, it calms digestion and boosts morale. If you're considering this, grow it in containers to control spread. Number 6, walking onions. At first glance, they look quirky, but what makes them powerful is their self-propagation. They literally replant themselves. In collapse scenarios, you'll never run out of onions. If you're considering this, let them walk naturally across your garden. Number 7, raspberries. At first glance, they're dessert fruit, but what makes them powerful is their ability to produce gallons of berries yearly. In collapse scenarios, they provide vitamins, sugar, and morale. If you're considering this, prune old canes to maximize yield.
Now here's where most people get it wrong. They think gardening is endless labor, planting seeds every spring, battling weeds, and starting over from scratch.
But the truth is, nature already designed crops that thrive without constant attention. Perennials don't just survive, they multiply, strengthen, and feed you year after year. This flips the script. Instead of you working for your garden works for you. And in a world where food systems are fragile, that's not just convenience, that's resilience. This isn't about panic, it's about positioning. The people who prepare quietly today will have leverage tomorrow. When shelves are empty, they'll still be harvesting. When prices spike, they'll still be eating. When neighbors scramble, they'll be calm. That's the difference between reaction and preparation. And it's why perennial crops aren't just plants, they're strategy. They're the foundation of self-reliance. If you start now, you're not just growing food, you're growing freedom. When the system struggles, prepared people don't panic. They adapt, they protect, they preserve. And that's what this channel is about. Building resilience, one choice at a time. Because preparedness isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving, even when the world feels uncertain. So plant these crops, build your safety net, and step into the future with confidence. Because when others see scarcity, you'll see abundance. And when others feel fear, you'll feel freedom.